to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive, left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
All right, it's Friday at 9:35. Get a chance to visit with our guy, Cory Provus. His appearances are brought to us by Weldon's Tire Service on what's been a ho-hum week for the Minnesota Twins. Ho-hum last couple weeks. It seems like just the last 14 days, 15 days. Cory, this has been, well, you've been around the team for over a decade. Has this been as wild as you can imagine the last 2 weeks?
Oh, no question, Dom. Yeah, this has been the rockiest I can recall. A period of my time with the Twins, with what happened at the trade deadline, seeing 40% of the roster traded away, and then with the unknown about ownership, and then the Pohlad family releasing the statement the other day while the team was in New York. So, yeah, a lot's been going on. The play's been better. I mean, the play on the field has been better. It's still not where anybody wanted to be, but still, yeah, it's been interesting to say the least.
The Obviously the big news that happened earlier in the week, and you're in a really unique position on this. I'm curious just the timing of it and how you've interpreted the fans' reaction from it when you were doing the broadcast the other night.
You know, when the trade deadline went down, and I thought that next game, because we were off that
Yeah.
Thursday when we played Friday, and Derek Falvey joined us, I thought for a really good inning of conversation to break. It was seven batters, so we were limited with what we could get into. Um, but I thought we addressed it, we hit it, and we talked about it, and we moved on. With this, there's not much more we can say. I mean, I don't know. We read the statement, and that's really all we can do. The game was good too. I mean,
Right.
it was a 1-1 game at the time when we addressed it and moved on. I think we will. I hope to address it more on the air after everything is settled. That we learn the limited partners, who they are, what this means going forward. Because maybe at that point, it may not be until next season. I don't know what this looks like, and I think that may be our time to kind of get into it a bit more than just offering opinions. That's not what we can't do that during the
Yeah.
game. But what we can do is ask questions. And I thought with the trade deadline, it was a great time, and Derek was fantastic. He was as transparent as he could be, when he joined us. And maybe we'll get that same opportunity with Joe Pohlad or somebody else, in the future. But until all this is announced publicly and resolved, and we know what this means moving forward, I think it's hard to address it on the air more than what we did.
I was talking about this leading up to your appearance today about what the atmosphere was going to be like at the ballpark last night. We were just visiting briefly. Can you give us, was it angry, vitriol? Did you see it at all in the stands last night?
I didn't see it one bit. It
Mm.
felt like just a normal, Thursday night at the ballpark. I thought the crowd. I think it was with the way the Twins performed against Turk Skubal. I think they took momentum and they had the crowd going because it felt like Rocky Four, where they're facing Ivan Drago, and he's not a machine, he's a man. When Rocky cut him that first time, it felt like, wait a minute. When Eddie Julian hit a home run off Turk Skubal, like, wait a minute, what is going on here? And we got a shot of Skubal throwing his glove in the dugout. Like, this is what you wanted to see. And so I think the play, I think, dictated the temperament and the tone around the ballpark. So I didn't sense any of that. I didn't sense any of that throughout the game. And I was wondering the same thing, Dom, what would the reaction be like at the ballpark? But I thought the fans were great because they were into the game. When Rocco got ejected late, I thought that fired him up too. So yeah, I thought it was a typical night for me at the ballpark with the close game, just sadly losing by one in extra innings.
It's such a emotional weekend, too, because it's Hall of Fame weekend. The 1965 AL champions are going to be honored. There's a lot of players that come back. There's a lot of high emotion with this, now tied to some fans that, frankly, are really PO'd about what went down over the last couple days.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Twins Hall of Famers, especially that I think have more connections to the Pohlad family than others. The 65 players, they don't. But I'm curious because I'm sure they'll be giving interviews and get their take on,
Yeah.
on what's going on, and And I look, I'm not oblivious to the fact that what is the fan reaction right now. I see it, I hear it, I feel it. But what is my job? My job is to call the game, and that's what I can do. And I can't deal with the unknown. And I'm often asked about coaching staffs, and I don't know. I think when teams win, managers get too much credit. When teams lose, managers get too much blame.
Mm.
I that's kind of where I stand on that topic, but I'm not oblivious to it. I'm not, Dom. I'm well aware of kind of where fans are at right now, and all I can do is control what I can control, and that's bring my energy, bring my enthusiasm, and my level of interest in this team succeeding, and that's kind of where I kind of put my emotional thought, and that's where I put my time on a daily basis. Is what control what I can control. I
Yeah.
can control my attitude, my preparation, call the game, talk about the game, things that are happening in game. The outside noise, I see it, but what more can I do about that?
It's interesting as a broadcaster. How do you navigate that? You got to call the game, but also recognizing what the fans' emotions are, and how do you try and navigate that? I'm curious.
Well, again, I think with the trade deadline, it was easy. I
Obvious
think
there.
that
Yeah.
was easier because there was truly it was factual that the Twins bullpen looked a lot different on August 2nd or August 1st than it did on July 30th. Right? That's dealing in fact. And that's where I go. That in a game like last night, and a game like we saw Monday in New York, if there's a tight game, where the Twins are going to go once those bullpen doors open up is unknown. They don't have Danny Coulomb. It's not going to be Louis Varland.
Mm.
It's not going to be Brock Stewart or Griffin Jacks or Joan Duran. Your top five bullpen guys are no longer here. That is where I can go. What are the Twins going to do? They don't have those same options. It's a bullpen game tonight. All those things come up, and I think that allows myself and last night Perk on the road trip, Justin Morneau, we address those topics. This is a new look bullpen. Where do the Twins go? That's what I deal with. That's where I go. If I start getting into being GM and being,
Yeah.
partial owner, then I'm going to be in the hot seat from the people I work with. And also I'm going to get in the hot seat from the people that are watching because I'm just guessing. I'm just stoking the flames here of the unknown, of things that are not in my control. And John McDonough was a legendary, hockey executive before that with the Cubs, and he gave me a piece of advice in 2007, my first year with the Cubs. I never forgot, Dom, and that is stay in your lane.
Mm.
And I am a big proponent of staying in my lane. Now there are times when you can merge a little bit, sure, and I think we did that post trade deadline. I think we got into a few things that deal with the present but also the future, and I think that was fair, and I'm glad we did that. But the idea of my job is to stay in my lane. I'm a big believer in that.
I appreciate you answering that and give us some perspective behind the microphone. On the end of the game last night, obviously Rocco got tossed. We're going to show the end, the call on it, and I don't know if there was, from your vantage point in the replays, was there anything conclusive that you saw that the ball hit the ground? Because that's what obviously he was furious about and ended up getting ejected because of it.
I thought watching it live it did, but after watching the replay I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And Rocco, I was curious what his post game when the game is over. I'll give you some what happens post game for me. When the game is over, I'm in my car. 99% of the time, I'm listening to Pearl Jam. It is rare that I listen to post game, and I'm at that time. My
Yep.
time at the ballpark is over. Last night was different. I was curious what because he got thrown out. What he said, and I thought he was fair in that I can't tell you if it hit the ground or not. What I wanted them to do was check the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's fair. And I think Perk said the same. Check the ball if there's a dirt mark on it, because they're swapping out balls all the time. It's not like, oh, how do you know that mark wasn't there from 2 innings ago? Because watching a game, how often a baseball is thrown out? It's thrown out basically almost every other pitch. So I think you get a pretty good read on if it hit the ground. If there's a big dirt mark on there, it probably hit the ground.
Yeah.
So I think that is what Rocco was hoping for. If they checked the ball, there was no dirt mark, I'm going to go back to the dugout. That's fine. But I'll say this: I thought watching it live, it did.
Yeah.
But then after that slow mo, you can't convince me that Dingler did not cleanly catch that ball after it hit Jeffers' bat.
Think there's a mix of frustration of the last week or plus that was in that with Rocco. I'm just asking you to total speculation on that.
I don't think so. I think he was upset with the strike zone all night. I
Mm,
think there were some calls that Tarek Skubal got, and also some missed calls. I don't think John Bacon had a great game, and I'm curious to see what his scorecard comes up today as. But there were certainly some pitches and then I think Bailey got a few that went his way. So was he consistent? Probably, but I think there were some calls throughout the
yeah.
night that irritated Rocco and Jace Tingler and the dugout. And the beautiful part about Target Field is, unlike other ballparks, umpires can hear everything those guys are saying in the dugout. It is very close. It
Yep.
is very close to home plate. So I think it was a culmination of that. I think there was frustration with the strike zone that the tipping point was that moment.
Also, your microphones hear everything as a broadcaster.
Yeah,
How do you pick up? How
yeah.
do you handle that?
So I'm in a tough spot there
Yeah.
because I have to be sensitive to some fans, to younger fans, even older fans that
Yep.
don't like hearing that. But at the same time, it's baseball. These are adults. It's passion. These are words that they're not unknown. They've been, and I just, if it starts to get so loud and so obvious, then I have to interject.
Yeah.
So I hear it. I'm sensitive to it, and I'm curious. I was kind of wondering if I'd get an email this morning from either somebody I work with or somebody above about we need to do better with that. And I wonder if I'll stop by the production truck today and see if there's any fallout from that, because that came across. I don't know what more we can do once you hear it. We can bring everything down a little bit in the truck. Um, but I also get emails from people that like hearing
Yeah.
that, and it's one of those where I'm a parent. I've got young kids. If those are my kids watching, do I want them to hear that? No.
Yep.
Have they heard those words before? Yeah. But I am sensitive to it,
Yeah.
and I'm well aware that it came out in the way it did last night.
Yeah, and we work in live television all the time, and it happens. It's not great, but it happens, and it's just it just happens. There's no maybe a
Yeah.
better way to describe it on that. Let's break. We come back. Much more with Cory, including some of the younger guys we're going to see playing. And apparently, Luke Keeschall is the resurrection of Robert Redford in The Natural. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Final segment with Cory Provus. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. You got Game 2 of the Twins and Tigers coming up. It's Hall of Fame weekend. This is always I remember going down. Gosh, for when Yohan Santana got inducted in. This is a pretty big deal. The Twins do this right, and this will be fun over the next couple days.
It is, and we honor Corey Koski, and the weekend should be about him, and it will be. But as the years go by, and with the health scares that Tony Oliva and Ken Herbeck
Mm,
had earlier this year, and Rod Carew, much of my vision and much of my thought is just about hanging on to these legends here and just not dismissing and not ignoring, that who is here. And because, in the near future, that's not going to be the
yeah.
case. And there's a whole section of the Twins Hall of Fame ceremony that we honor those that are no longer with us. And some of the all time Twins greats are thankfully still here. So that's what I think about as well. So, and it's emotional for everybody. I get, teared up because I've gotten to know Tony Oliva. When I got the Twins TV job and I saved this voicemail, I got the sweetest phone call from Tony Oliva.
That's awesome.
Tony Oliva left me a message on my voicemail, just congratulating me on moving over to TV. I'll never delete that. I'll never, and it's just the sweetest message in the world from a guy that I like talking Spanish with. He helps me practice my Spanish, but I just like seeing him. And because of the stroke that he suffered this season, he hasn't been in the radio booth
Mm,
with Alfonso much this season. But I love seeing him and seeing Rod and seeing all these guys come back. But we honor Corey Koski. But at the same time, if you're watching, if you're there this weekend, don't just brush aside, the fact that we get a chance to still spend time and see the faces, the smiles, and hear their stories of some of the all-time greats, not just to play for the Twins, but some of the greatest baseball players to ever play the
Yeah,
game.
that's well said. I'm interested how you evaluate for the last 6 weeks. Are you think are jobs on the line, or can guys earn jobs for how the last 6 weeks of this baseball season go?
It's a great question. I think Eddie Julian is the guy that comes to mind, and he had his best game last night,
Yeah.
offensively and defensively, because first base to me is unknown. First base, how the future looks at first is I have no idea. And so if you're Cody Clemens, if you're Eddie Julian, especially Eddie Julian, that you have to look at this like this is a 6 week massive audition that I want to be a part of this team's plans moving forward. And I'm going to put the work in. I'm going to do my best. The bat's going to come back. I'm not going to be a liability at first base. So for him, especially, I think this is a massive, massive opportunity because what the future looks like is to me, Royce Lewis at third, Brooks Lee at short, Luke Keyshaw at second base, first base. Who knows?
Yeah.
Uh, so that to me is a big question mark. So I think for a guy like Eddie Julian, Dom, it's absolutely a pivotal 6 week stretch here for him to show and say, I'm here. I want to be here. Give me a chance. And if he has more games like last night, he's not going anywhere.
Any other spots or players in your mind that are auditioning over the next 6 weeks?
I think Austin Martin defensively, and he had
Yeah.
a good game in center last night. But I think for him, where he fits in defensively, it's more defense with a lot of these guys. And I just think, Austin Martin, he's not going to be a 15, 20 homer guy. But can you put him out in the outfield? Can you make some plays, show some athleticism? I think for him it's important. I still think they're learning about Alan
That
Roden.
was my next guess I was going to
There's
ask.
yeah,
Yeah.
where he kind of fits in. He doesn't strike out too much, swings early. But where does he slot in? Is he going to be, a left-handed hitting outfielder playing all three spots? I mean, the roster has too many of those guys
Yeah.
right now, and I think that's going to be cleaned up this winter. With Matt Wallner and Trevor Larnach and Alan Roden, James Outman is in AAA. Walker Jenkins is left-handed. Emmanuel Rodriguez is left-handed. They have so many left-handed hitting outfielders that at some point they're going to have to either try some of these guys at first base or make some trades
Yeah.
because I just can't see the same amount of left-handed hitting outfielders as we sit here and chat today, 6 months from now, 4 or 5 months from now, when we start spring training all over again. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's too many of the same guys on this team that I think the roster is going to need to be tweaked in that regard.
Luke Keyshaw came in, I believe, Corey, you correct me if I'm wrong, he was the number 3 ranked prospect in the Twins system. So maybe this isn't like out of left field, but man, just him coming back. I know he was really good before he got hurt. And this is just like Robert Redford of the Natural shows up and just hits the cover off the ball.
Yeah, he's going to be swinging the Bobby Savoy special here pretty soon. The next time he breaks a bat, he's something. And it's not just me, you saying that. You hear that from Morneau, from Plouffe, from Perkins, from the guys that played. When these guys played and put this kind of praise upon Keyshaw's shoulders, that to me has a lot of merit.
Yeah.
It really does. And so good for him. American League Player of the Week, first Twins rookie to do that since Max Kepler in 2016. It's been fun to watch, and I like the energy he brings,
Yep.
the speed aspect. I'm very envious of the hair that he has, but he is a great guy. He was on MLB Network,
Yeah, I
the
saw
other
that.
day,
Yeah.
and he didn't give too much. I mean, I think he's pretty quiet. I think he's pretty humble at this point. But he's a guy to root for, and I keep looking around the stands, and I'm waiting to see some Keyshaw 15 jerseys. I still see Perkins 15s, which are fine, but at some point here, yeah, I think we're going to start seeing some Keyshaw 15s pop up in the stands.
Emails come in here and ask Corey, is Walker Jenkins a possibility to be brought up in September for the Twins? Is that in your radar at all or not? He's not ready yet.
No, I don't see it happening. I do see him going to St. Paul though.
Okay.
I do see him because Wichita right now they're in a playoff push here, so I think he stays with Wichita. And if they don't make the playoffs, then because the AAA season goes longer than the AA
Yep.
season, then it wouldn't shock me if either he and Kalen Culpepper, who is probably the Twins minor league player of the year, although Kyler Fedko has had a great season with St. Paul as well. But I think Culpepper right now is the odds-on favorite to be the Twins
Wow.
minor league player of the year, and probably a top 50 prospect in the game. That's how well he has shot up the charts this year. So I don't see it. I don't see Jenkins or Culpepper with the Twins, but I think there's certainly a chance that they're both playing in St. Paul though by the end of the season.
Culpepper was the number 1 pick last year?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
out of Kansas State. Just a rocket of a rise. He's going to be in camp. Jenkins will be in camp. I asked, though, if Walker Jenkins was going to play in the Fall League because of all the time that he missed, and I
Yeah.
was told no.
Okay.
That the Fall League is pretty, that they've set their roster for the Fall League. That'll be announced here soon. But he's almost outperformed the talent that he's going to see in the Fall League anyway. The way that the Fall League has evolved over the years, it's probably now high A ball
Okay.
level talent, and Jenkins is far and away blown by that talent. I think also with the injuries he's had, some fluke spring training injuries, they don't want him
Yeah.
to have a fluke fall league injury, have a good off season, ready to go, and then he's going to be in camp in spring training. That's a given. I think Culpepper will be there as well.
Last thing before we let you go, some positive news on Pablo Lopez that we may see him sooner than later if everything goes well tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Audra had this great report yesterday during the game that he's going to face some hitters today, full uniform and all that. He's going to, kind of have a simulated game, if you will, today. So then, rehabs, or they're not too far away, but he's going to go. It's going to be, he's going to have his pitchers get, I believe, 30 days, and position players get 20. So I think September is what we're looking at with Pablo Lopez, and he wants to come back no matter what the record is, where the Twins sit from a playoff standpoint or not. Right now, way on the outside looking in, but that has no bearing on Pablo. He wants to pitch for the Twins again this season, so he's still competing, still fighting, and he wants to be part of this team here when it's all said and done.
Always great stuff, bud. Thanks so much for the time. Have a great call tonight, and we'll talk again next week, okay?
All right, Tom. Thanks, buddy.
Good to see you. There he goes. Cory Provus from the Minnesota Twins. His appearance is brought to us each and every Friday by Welton's Tire Service. Twins and Tigers coming up 7 o'clock tonight, 6 o'clock tomorrow for the honoring of the 1965 team. That game is on Fox tomorrow as well. We'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. We'll check in Enderlin. It's been a wild couple months. The Eagles are back to play football. How that's going to go and how they're trying to rebuild that community after what happened in June. Kevin Murphy will join us when Hour 2 of Hot Mic begins after this.